As time goes on, people's assets depreciate. If you own a car, it depreciates from the moment it drives outside the car yard. For businesses are encouraged to retool and re-equip by having a depreciation allowance. The less something is, the more can be claimed back, part can be claimed back in reality, against someone or a business's taxation. There are two forms or two ways in which we can do this. Either a straight line depreciation, where a set amount of the purchase price, number of years taken away from the cost price, will give us the value of the goods at that point, and another form. The second form is the reducing balance depreciation allowance. So A will be the book value after n years, P, the original book value, the purchase value, I, the annual rate of depreciation as a decimal, and the number of years of depreciation. It's a little bit like inflation in reverse. In V2.7, I'd like to take you through a comparison of two ways in which some computer equipment can be depreciated. And there's two ways in which this computer equipment can be depreciated: by 15% on a straight line depreciation amount, so 15% of the purchase price every year. I'll quickly work that out. So $450 a year. So if I'm to use this formula to find the value after 6 years, the cost price was $3,000, the value is $300. Now, quite often, when you need to show depreciation, you must keep evidence that you've been depreciating the item. Now, what I can do in my table, first up, is to put in the constant $450 in the second column. So going through the first couple of rows, 3,000, take 450, total of 450 depreciation. The value at the end of the year will be $2,550. That then means this item will start at that value in the next year. After 2 years, $900 of accumulated depreciation, and I'll have $2,100. I'll just continue that through. So continuing that through, that constant $450 depreciation, the amount I can claim on my taxation has increased. The value after 6 years confirms what I suspected from the equation of $300. The other way in which we can claim depreciation is to perform a reducing balance calculation, where the 25% is calculated afresh on the value at the end of the year each time around. So if I carry this out as an equation, it's a rather lengthy process to demonstrate this on this slideshow. So what I'm going to do is just to carry out the first couple of rows. So that $2,250 at the end of the first year, I then calculate 25% of the value of it as its depreciation figure. The accumulated depreciation becomes $13,150, and its value at the end of the year is $1,687.50. Carrying out the rest of those calculations, fortunately, the value of the item at the end of the 6th year is the same as predicted by the equation, 533.93. In order to show this to you graphically, the graphics calculator proves to be very, very handy. I'll set up my two equations as y is equal to negative 450x, the calculator understands x's and y's, plus 3,000, and the reducing balance is 3,000 times 0.75 to the power of x. So I've set up my two equations. I have a little bit of fiddling. I've been able to generate the two graphs there, both starting at 3,000, both dropping down, and somewhere just beyond 5 years, they have the same value. Now, this isn't something required to do that often, but I might analyse my graph, G-solve, and I want the intersection point. The intersection point, there's two of them, occurs at 0 when they're both 3,000, and the second one, and it might be a little bit hard to read, occurs at 5.15 years. Sketching the graphs in, firstly the straight line, nice even straight line depreciation, and then the reducing balance. The reducing balance, you can see the break even or the point of equivalence where the computer equipment's worth the same under both models, 5.15 years, and if we did some further analysis, $681.34. Now, if we want to discuss where this was best under what system, you can't chop and change, but in the first instance, the reducing balance is nice and steady. You can write it off, and perhaps if you're looking at equipment after 6 or 7 years, total write-off works well. For the reducing balance, particularly precipitous in the first, second, third, and fourth and fifth year, if you want to get your money back quite quickly. So I wanted to put those in words: reducing balance best, depreciation return is required years 1 to 5. Straight line best, a steady depreciation figure is needed, can also enable you to write off the material.